All right, so this video we're going to cover Megyn Kelly asking questions to Dave Rubin about his involvement with this thing called Tenet Media, which turned out to be basically like a Russian scheme. I've done videos on this in the past, so I'm not going to spend too much time covering this. I will do like a very short recap here.
A Canadian-owned social media channel that the U.S. Justice Department alleges is a key part of a Russian influence scheme is now off YouTube. YouTube says Tenet Media violated its community.
So this is this Tenet Media. You can see this picture here where my cursor is. That would be Dave Rubin right there. It's kind of a weird picture of him, but yeah, like there's Tim Pool, Lauren Southern, Benny Johnson, and this Tenet Media has been shut down. And
Community guidelines.
Let her continue here.
Tenet Media was founded by Canadian Lauren Chen and her husband Liam Donovan last year. YouTube is also taking down 4 separate media channels owned by Chen. She's right.
I'm not sure if it was founded by her. I don't know if that's, I mean, I guess this is the news, but that's not the way I understood it. But she had involvement for sure.
Right-wing commentator with a following for her post.
So yes, so Lauren Chen was like a relatively popular influencer online. Since this has happened, she has not posted at all, but she's definitely in she's having some legal issues right now for sure. And she's not posted in quite a while. She was fired by the Blaze following this, but the problem is just this Russian company, or at least the Russians in general, were funding this sort of Tenet Media, but all these influencers thought it was some like Belgian or French billionaire. They'll cover this a little bit. I have like another little video I'll show, but now we'll get anyway to the point where Megyn Kelly starts kind of grilling Dave Rubin. It's her friend, but I don't think Dave Rubin's response to what happened with this Tenet Media is the best. So we'll cover that right now. It's kind of funny. He kind of is I'd say dodging responsibility. So we'll see what happens.
You and I were chatting, and you said you might be doing this sort of side gig with this organization that Lauren Chen, who'd been working for the Blaze, was putting together with some podcasters. And I said, don't do it. Did I not say don't do it? I said don't do it.
You did say don't do it. You did, but well, let's give people a little more detail there. It wasn't just don't do it. Basically, what I told you was Lauren Chen, who I've known for about
That's pretty funny. Just already calling him out.
a decade. Your viewers probably know her. You know, she's in the talk space on the right side. I remember meeting her, I don't know, maybe eight or 9 years ago at an event I did in Canada. And she was this, young, cute little girl who was doing some online stuff. So I'd known her for quite some time. She came to me and she basically said, hey, I've got this French benefactor who is putting together this network. It's going to be with heterodox thinkers. We're thinking about maybe Tim Pool and Benny Johnson. And she named a couple other people. But I basically said to her, I was like, look, if I do it, I don't have a lot of time. I'll do a very quick show 4 days a week about some silly, viral video kind of stuff. And I asked for what I thought was a crazy number, a crazy amount of money. And in essence, after 1 or 2 conversations, they basically said yes. And I called you the night before this.
And they'll cover the number. This is where I think these guys like Dave Rubin, Tim Pool, Benny Johnson should have asked way more questions. It's actually kind of interesting how they did not take a lot of heat for this. I thought they would take more. I think it's a little bit unfair. I think this would be a case where maybe like the climate is shifting a little bit, because I think if they were on the left, the right wingers would not let this go. And I mean, I just think like the media climate changes over time, but 10 years ago, I think the right wing would have been have more scrutiny on them. I think it's kind of flipped in a sense. I think it might be harder now in like the independent media space, at least, to be on the left.
This is what you're referencing. I didn't like the idea that I was doing something kind of just for money, but I was actually. I don't have a problem with capitalism or doing things for money, but I had been so free for so long that I was kind of struggling with it. Should I do it? And obviously, if you're starting a network, let's say you're starting a Daily Wire or you're starting Blaze or whatever it might be, you're going to pay a premium for your talent, obviously, to help you build that brand. But I was struggling with the idea that I was just doing something for money. And you basically said to me, well, then just don't do it. And I learned a lesson, which is listen to Megyn Kelly, because then a headache happened, which I had no idea was coming.
But he's getting so much money. I think they covered in a sec, but it was like $5 million a year for just like a side gig. Like he even said, a short video. Like $5 million a year is an incredible salary for full-time work. Even if you're doing like more than full-time, like 60-hour week type stuff. And I just can't believe I believe like it seems like they should have known that something sketchy was happening.
It turned into just a nightmare. So you did the work, you got the money, reportedly $5 million, and
$5 million. That's per year. And no offense, like Dave Rubin is a popular person, but he's not the most popular. who like if the person was Tucker Carlson making $5 million for this side gig, and then you can put his name on something, that may make sense, or Joe Rogan, but I just can't believe that amount of money for like I would consider a B tier commentator. So many people, for example, would not know who Dave Rubin is.
The indictment that came down of, not of Lauren Chen, she hasn't been indicted, but of the people who started this podcast network called Tenet Media, are allegedly a couple of Russians who work for RT, which used to be called Russia Today. It's state-run media in Russia. Those two have been indicted. And the interesting thing about those two being indicted is, as Andy McCarthy pointed out on his podcast, they're ghosts. They'll never be arrested. It's basically just a way for the DOJ to try to embarrass the conservative podcasters who got pulled into this, even though the indictment itself, but basically this is the DOJ's attempt to say, everyone's a Russian stooge, conservatives.
These years, she told me I was working with this French businessman. I'm commentator number one in the indictment. Well, the funny thing to me is when the story broke, whatever it was, 10 days ago, and I read the indictment, I'm so used to reading dishonest things about me that when I was reading it, I was like, oh, this actually is all true. I knew Lauren for all these years. She told me I was working with this French businessman. I'm commentator number one in the indictment for people that want to read it. I'm the one that asked for more information. They sent me what I think now it says is a fake AI bio about this guy with a picture. Maybe you guys have it over
fancy.
there.
It looks fancy.
No.
Yeah, so this fake thing, like, I don't know how really they fell for this. So I'll show it here. But it's right here. This is covered by Breaking Points.
Finance professional, investor, deeply engaged in business and philanthropy. All of this was not coming in on time. I mean, at a philosophical level, it's sad, honestly, because it's very clear that the money was just so good that nobody was not asking real questions.
Yeah.
So, for example, let's put A5, please, up on the screen.
This is amazing.
This is delicious because at one point they're like, hey, who is the guy? I want to see something about him. And this is literally the resume that was sent to them of some mystery rich man named Edward Gregorian. Now,
What is this? It looks like something that is just made in like a Adobe or Canva software in like 5 seconds. It's just so like, who takes a picture like that?
we don't have full, like the resolution on this is actually quite bad because it comes from the indictment itself, but it says experienced finance professional and investor, deeply engaged in business and philanthropy, leveraging skills and resources to drive positive impact. Just a bunch of complete bullshit, honestly. Life and education. They say that he had a bachelor's degree in economics, a master's in accounting.
Yeah, like I don't know. If you ask for more information, you get this back. This doesn't mean anything to me. It's just like a random thing that anyone on earth pretty much that has a computer could easily make in 5 minutes, probably.
Oh, but even that didn't I was like not satisfied with that. So I asked, yeah, so that's what they sent me. And I said, well, I'd like to talk to the guy. That's what I said to Lauren. All my communications were with Lauren, and clearly the DOJ has all those communications because everything in the indictment was true. And then I got on a Zoom call. Lauren set me up on a Zoom call with a person that I was told was her French benefactor named Edward Gregorian. And now,
So this part I was unaware of this at the beginning, that apparently he did talk to somebody. So that's at least something, I think.
I don't know who I spoke to. I actually have no idea who I spoke to. I don't know what Lauren.
So, I mean, as long as he's telling the truth, I'll assume he is. The fact that he actually talked to somebody is at least a little bit of a better step, because before this interview with Megyn Kelly, I was not under the impression that any of these people spoke to anybody face to face. In this case, not literally, but on like a Zoom call. I don't think that was mentioned, but
Lauren's intentions were or anything else. Look, we, as the DOJ said to me in an email, look, you guys are the victims here. You guys got completely duped. I completely stand by all of my editorial decisions and everything else. Also, this had nothing to do with Rubin Report. This was a separate show altogether. But I think more than anything else, the headache around this has been that it's like you watch the media, the way they run with these crazy things, and you just alluded to this, the way they run with it. And it's like, it's just so profoundly dishonest. And I'm so proud of the work that I've done.
It's a chance to discredit you.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a chance to discredit you.
of course, but these guys walked into this trap. I just don't know how you got to get more information if you're getting that much money from somebody. Especially when you don't know them. Like if you're getting $5 million in a contract from Coca-Cola, everybody knows what that is. This is just a totally different situation.
By falsely portraying to commentator one, that's you, and two, that's Tim, that this company was sponsored by a private investor named Edward Gregorian. Founder one and founder two worked together to deceive commentator one.
Well, I don't know who I would be giving it back to, the Russian.
They're to deceive.
And then so I'll cover one more little part here of Megyn Kelly asks him a question, and I think he has a bad answer here.
Commentator one and commentator two, who respectively have the following YouTube following or Twitter followers. So not even the government alleges that you knew. But now that leads me to the tough questions that people want answered. Number one, now that you know it was Russian money, do you give it back?
Well, I don't know who I would be giving it back to. The Russians that duped me? I'm not sure. I mean, I'll decide what
Donate
to
to
do with it.
charity?
I'll probably donate some of it. You know, I've been dealing with like just
So he's just like, it looks like in his head, he's just like, dang it, don't bring that up. I want the money.
the immediacy of, you know, lawyers just cleaning up everything with the DOJ. And as you said, I was never accused of anything or anything else. I have an email from them saying that I'm the victim here. So we're trying to figure that out. And I'd be happy to follow up with you on that, either personally or publicly when we figure that out.
I
don't even know what the honest, you know, I did the work. I did a show, and ironically, I'm quite proud of the show. We did a silly show about viral videos where it wasn't even political largely. It was like, you know, fat girl goes into Wendy's and throws hamburger at somebody. It was nonsense. The gimmick of the show, actually. Well, people like that on the internet. That was the show. Yeah.
Did anybody
Proud of that? You just like basically rambled in front of a computer screen apparently to like funny meme videos. And by the way, this Tenet Media channel, it's been taken off the internet now, but when it just locked, people were pointing out that a lot of these videos on there had like 7,000 views, not that many views at all relative to my channel. I mean, I would be happy with those views, but to someone who's famous making 5 million, it was making way less money. The amount of views that Tenet Media was taking in or getting was totally not worth 5 million.
ever tell you what to report, what to say, or what not to report and say?
No, all of my conversations with Lauren, all she kept saying was this: we want heterodox thinkers. We want you to do whatever you want to do. I even said that to you, if you remember.
I kind of believe him on this, because if they did tell him, like, it would be tough. I think it'd be like such a tell that you're doing some kind of propaganda, but in the way though, they at least got to use their likeness to try to promote this company. So I think that was the main thing that they wanted. They wanted Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson, Tim Pool to like do their show, and then they could promote on their website or on whatever they want to use as promotional material, just their names and stuff. I think that's kind of what they're paying for. And then they're, I guess, planning on somehow growing this thing into a bigger enterprise. I guess that's what they would, like, what if you were like Dave Rubin, what you would think was happening. I don't know.
Specifically our call from way back when, that the only reason I was going to do it, I was like, it's not going to be a heavy lift because I'm going to cover these silly viral videos and do whatever I want and
make 5 million.
That's it. Just to be clear about one thing, because it's not quite in there, but just to clean up one thing, they ended the contract with me in May. So it started around October or so. Someone can check the exact date. But they ended it in May, clearly because they were not, whatever it is they wanted out of me, and again, I didn't know any of this, clearly they were not getting it. So it's not as if I've been in contract with them the entire time. They sent me a desist letter, and then I was just like, you know what? This was a headache. I probably should have listened to Megyn in the beginning, and that was it.
So you only dealt with Lauren. You didn't deal with the two people above her, because those are two Russians who are named in the.
So I didn't even know that part. So they actually cut him off before this even came out. So apparently he wasn't getting them enough views or something. I don't know.
Indictment, who they claim are trying to pull the strings here.
No, Lauren is the only person I ever spoke to, except that she set me up on the Zoom call with this guy that, again, I thought was Edward Gregorian, I think in Paris. And I just don't know who he was. I honestly don't know. I don't even know that the government knows. Was it one of the two people in the indictment? I just have no idea. But she's the only one that I dealt with. I have no idea what her intentions are. Did she know? I simply have no idea.
The indictment alleges she knew. It alleges that she and her husband both knew that they were telling you that it was Edward Gregorian, French guy, behind the company, but they were privately messaging to each other that they wanted to get paid by the Russians for the work. So did that...
Lauren Chen, by the way, before this happened, like, she was promoting some wild stuff. Every time I saw her on Twitter in the last year or so, it was things like repeal the 19th Amendment, like basically so like the point that women can't vote. That's what she was trying to say. And she was also promoting Project 2025 a lot. I saw she'd be like, why is everyone against this Project 2025? It's just good conservative policy. So she seemed to be almost intentionally, to what I looked like, even before this came out, it looked like to me she was trying to agitate or just trying to rage bait or something. Her post seemed like very, very out there and it seemed like she was up to something. At least that's what I thought, or she was just trolling or something.
Were you surprised to read that?
Well, I guess I was surprised in that, to whatever extent I thought I knew her. You think you know somebody. Megyn, think of all the people that you know that do something similar than us. And someone could call you and be like, oh, somebody could call you and be like, I have this person who's really a big fan of what I do, and they like what you do, and they've got some money, and they want to figure out how to build something, and heterodox thinking, and all of that stuff. I felt that I did my due diligence, especially by talking to the guy. But as you know.
And so I get my point is, I don't think Dave Rubin I don't think what he did here is grounds for cancellation, certainly, or grounds for a permanent reputation hit, but I think it should be some, because not enough due diligence in my opinion. You don't know where this is money coming from. This is so much money. Again, it's not like coming from a trusted brand like Coca-Cola or Apple or something, and it's just coming from some supposedly wealthy billionaire that lives in Paris. Like, why would he do this? Why would he just be? You got to think about that. I think, like, why is he just willing to give me $5 million for me to kind of just do this little throwaway mini show on the side of what I do for a living? He's not really paying for my best work. Like, I'm still going to do my regular show. He's just paying for me to do this extra thing on the side. I think you got to think about that harder. So, yeah.
When I called you the night before I signed it, I was still a little, just the idea again of doing something just for money was still sticking with me in a little bit.
Anyway, so I'm gonna end the video there, because I believe that's kind of the best of this clip. So anyway, with that said, I just wanted to cover this to show that I don't think these guys, Tim Pool included, Dave Rubin and Benny Johnson, I don't think they've taken enough public responsibility for this. I would like to have more. Just now I view them a little bit differently, I would say. I think they could have handled this better. Maybe donate more of the money publicly to whatever you want to donate to, some kind of cause, some of the money that you took from this Tenet Media venture, or just be more honest that you made this mistake. It seems like a lot of deflecting, like, oh, I did the work, and this Lauren Chen, I just heard of her, and she said, oh, they want this heterodox thinker, and made sense to me, or think of all the people that you could know that could pitch you this. So I haven't seen a whole lot of responsibility or accountability taken by any of the people involved in this Tenet Media venture. But anyway, with that said, let me know if you disagree or agree. Either way, thank you for watching this video. Have a great day. See you in the next one.